And I am your host, Kristen Bry, along with Jane Madnair and Greg Bach. So switching it up from politics that we were spending most of the first hour talking about, and I saw this article from Vice of I tried to cut small talk out of my life. It went badly, and it made me think of just. I feel like people always say they hate small talk, and so I'm asking you at home, how do you deal with small talk? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you avoid it? Do you have like go-to questions to make it more palatable? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Greg, how do you feel about small talk?
Don't like it. And it's all about the mood I'm in when I'm walking the place. So like if I'm in a good mood, I can deal with it because I'm not going to be a jerk to anybody. But if I'm not feeling the room or I'm not feeling the day, I'll just keep to myself, and I have no problem doing that. I've sat in rooms with complete silence, and I'm fine with that. It's not offensive. It's not a slight on anyone I know, but I have no problem with silence.
So what do you think? Like, what do you feel like small talk? Like, what is small talk to you?
Small talk to me, well, first feels like a punishment. Two, it feels like it just feels like this necessity to uphold some part of the social contract that doesn't exist that says we must engage if we're in close proximity. Because the thing is, those questions don't mean anything. Like, how's the weather? What's sports? Family?
What do you do?
Lawn? Movie? You know, unless you're willing to go into further conversation about it, and not like you have to get like 2 hours deep into it, but unless you're willing, A, to listen to someone talk about what they really think, B, take it in as like, even if you disagree with them, and also maybe learn something, that's cool. That's good talk right there. That's great conversation. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 10 minutes. But if you're just like, if we're just sitting here waiting for a bus, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be windy today. Why did you say that? There's no reason to say that. I guess the thing is like it's in everybody else's head. It's different. Like some people just want to spark a conversation, see where it goes. I'm not that person. I don't need earbuds. I just won't talk. I'm great at it.
You always been great at it?
Yeah. But I can also engage in small talk because I know the other person is nervous. I'm not gonna be like, if you said to me like, oh man, what do you think of the Packers going to camp next week without Aaron Rodgers? I'm not gonna be like dead silent. I don't.
You'd be like, I would want to talk about this with you.
But I would
be rude.
But I also wouldn't hesitate to say, I don't follow football. I'm sorry, and move on.
Interesting. Jane, what do you think?
I don't know that I'm particularly good at small talk. One of my sisters is amazing, but that's because she loves details.
Oh, so she has a lot of follow-up questions.
Loves details.
Well, then to me that evolves out of small talk. To me, small talk is like yes or no answers, real basic stuff. Once you start getting the details, that's where the conversation can happen then. Like, is your sister really good at sparking conversations with people?
Yeah, I would say so.
See, that's cool. Like, I don't mind that if you want to like have a chat, no problem with that. But if you want to talk to me about stuff that you could ask 20 other people and get the same answer and kill me.
And see, that's how I feel about the details. It's like, I don't care that your friend's second cousin's husband is a curler. I don't care.
But Jane, what team does do the curl for?
I don't care. And so that's where I start checking out when you start getting way into the weeds.
So you're fine with the how's it going? Like the
how's
cordial exchange.
Yeah. Yeah. But when you start getting into the minutia, it's just either I got to reel you back in or I'm done.
I can show you with my eyes that you've said too much. I really can. Like, it's just my eyes start to glaze, get bigger, and like, and my head gestures get bigger because it's just like, if I need something from you, I'm going to ask you a question. I get the information. I don't need any more information beyond that. That's extraneous. Because then it's just like, I gotta go.
Because does it change if the small talk is with a stranger versus someone that you're actually like, know? Or like, it's like you think about like water cooler talk or whatever, and like people you actually work with, or see on a regular basis, or maybe you're in the same friend group, but you're not like, you two aren't that close. Like, does that also but you're like, well, we're at this like social event, and I gotta say, like,
Got to kill some
I gotta,
time.
and so is it specifically with strangers, or is it a different thing than small talk when it's with people that you know and will see again?
No, it's not the same. I'm the same
It's
way.
not the same
I'm
way?
the same way. I'm the same way. Like I will stand there and dead silent. Like if we're at a party or something like that and I see someone I'm acquainted with, I won't make the move to go talk to them. Unless if I've had cocktails, maybe yes. I mean that is always a motivator. But my general place is to be like, just stay quiet. If someone talks to you, great. Don't be rude. But I'm not one to be like, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I'm drinking the same beer. You like that beer?
We're talking about how are you with small talk? 844-967-2789.
I'd ask the question to you, but I know what your answer is. You're amazing with small talk because you're so outgoing and you're so caring
and curious.
And none of those things, I'm not saying any of those things to be funny or a joke. I truly love how genuinely curious you are with people. And you do have this bright personality that like
your shirt today.
Yes, exactly. It's like you're one side. I am definitely the other side of that shirt. But yeah, like you have like people gravitate towards you, but you are genuinely, you don't take that for granted because you want to know people and you want to get like, just you decided to volunteer at the comedy festival, not knowing anybody. And look, 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
because I would say I like talking to people.
Yeah.
I get that certainly from my mom. My mom is a queen of small talk.
Oh, Debbie Bry.
Oh, Debbie Bry. Debbie Bry will get your life story out of you. Like the best story about Debbie Bry making small talk is when we lived in California in Los Angeles. We lived in an apartment complex. There was a dog park connected to the dog park, the complex, and that woman made friends with every single person who had a dog in that building. So much so that one year, what it must have been 2004. Yeah, it was the Summer Olympics. She put on the Summer Dog Olympics in that dog park. And I swear to God, I think there was 15 different people who she had become friends with from all walks of life. And like, it all just started with her coffee or her wine, depending on what time of day it was, where she was at the dog park. Who are you? Where are you from? How did you get to California?
Because because Debbie Bry, as well as you do, I don't know your dad as well.
Not as much of a small talk guy.
But your dad is so adorable. Has a genuine curiosity. There's the difference. And that's where I almost think then it's not small talk. Your mom has a mission to know this person, and she's going to do it by any means necessary, whether it's just a chat at the outside the house or literally setting up a competitive dog event, and I think there's something beautiful about that because that means your mom cares and means there's a love there, and that love is in you as well. I see that happening. I see you talk to people and you have an interested demeanor when you're talking to them.
And I think I usually assume the best out of people too,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
a lot of people don't as well.
Yeah.
How are you with small talk? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY.
Jesse from Madison is joining us. Good morning, Jesse. How are you with small talk?
Morning. I think small talk is it's a tool, right? I mean, it's like if you're building a campfire and the deep conversation about waxing philosophical or talking about memories, that's like a big heavy log, and you can't just light a log with a match. Small talk is just the kindling that gets things going. Now, if you've known someone for a long time, you probably don't need that, right? You've got some embers in the fire already going. But if you're just at a bus stop, if you're at a bar, if you're out and about, you're meeting someone for the first time, that's like the stepping stone to kind of like feel them out and think about and figure out what's the next slightly deeper level, or how deep of a level of conversation can I go with this person that we can engage and find common ground on.
I want to take the one the comparison further. When I get drinks in me, it's like lighter fluid.
I think that's a good point. I think
you're great at small talk. You just don't remember that you like small talk in that situation.
Correct.
And I think you make a really good analogy, though, Jesse. I do. I think it's a good analogy.
I think, yeah, the kindling and thinking of it as a tool. But I also think it comes back to what is your goal? Like, I think there is the goal to have an actual conversation with someone who's new? Is the goal to make it less awkward and the silence that is between you? Or is it something else? And so I think that comes back to, like, if you're just filling the void because you're not good with silence, then I can see why people are like, this is excruciating. Thanks so much for the call, Jesse.
This is awful.
This is because it's funny that we talk about the drinking aspect of it, because like I do like to get to like deeper conversations quickly if I can.
Yeah.
But it was the experience of these last, where are we now? 7 months of not drinking, and in certain groups of friends where there's always drinking. Like, specifically, it was, I think, the Kentucky Derby, and I was like at the end of the first trimester, so still like kind of tired, kind of cranky, not drinking, and everyone was drinking. And I was just annoyed. I was annoyed first because the conversations were so shallow and they were only getting more so as people were drinking more.
Yeah.
But then I also realized that when I'm drinking, I would be perfectly fine to have you having all these conversations. I would be the social butterfly. And I was like, am I not fun without booze? And the existential crisis has set in.
Are these my friends or my drinking friends?
Exactly. All right. Well, how do you feel about small talk? How do you deal with small talk? 844-967-2789. Do you have a go-to opening line question? Because when we come back, we have a certain TikToker has some pretty good options you may want to steal. There's a part 1 and a part 2. So stick around for that if you need some ideas. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Yes, great idea. Here's a list of things to ask on a first date instead of the boring small talk one. Number 1, if no one ever sneezed again, how long do you think it would take you to notice? Number 2, which cult would you be most interested in joining and why? Next up, if you could breed 2 different species of animals together, which ones would they be? And explain your work. If the purge was real, what's a crime you're committing first? And if that crime is murder, who would it be, and explain your reason? Which Breaking Bad character do you think eats ass? Next, do Android users deserve to vote in the general election? If all of the people you've ever slept with were in a room together right now, what would they roast you about? Next, how many countries have you taken? And finally, what's your relationship like with your mom?
That is from a TikToker, Ash Wee Carter. And I came across this as far as, actually, I think I've come across part 2, which we'll play in a second, and then found part 1 as far as giving suggestions on other types of questions. That was more specifically for a first date, but I think it falls under, small talk and avoiding the obvious questions of, like, what do you do? Or the weather.
What are you into?
Or how's work? Or, and so.
Or don't say anything because you chose a first date to go to a movie.
But now I actually want to ask, how long do you think it would take you to notice if no one ever sneezed ever again?
I don't.
I love that question.
It would take me until someone else asked me, like, do you notice no one sneezed? I'm like, oh, I think you're right. I don't think I would notice. Yeah. I'd only notice if someone else brought it up.
All right. Which cult would you join and why?
Oh, I could easily go Scientology just because I know so much about it.
And you'd probably get an acting career out of it.
I would very much get an acting career out of it. I'd definitely get some Emmys looking at someone, Miss Moss. What now? Yeah, I'd probably start with probably go Scientology. What about you?
Okay. I don't know that many cults.
Yeah.
I feel like, what was the one? I feel like if there's any cults there where there's like commune living, where it's like very communal and we're all helping each other, and it's like a little bit more.
But then
there's not like drinking or like abuse involved, or is there any like cults like that? Like drinking of Kool-Aid, I meant.
It was actually Flavor Aid.
Whatever.
Well, it means a lot to Kool-Aid people. No, that's the thing is, like, Scientology isn't built. Scientology is built on money, fear, and power. It's not built on like sex or booze or anything
or
like that.
Community, right?
Or faith.
It's not based on faith either. It's not really built on community. They tell you it's community, but it's not. And if there's anyone in Scientology listening to this, come at me, bro.
All right, we got a caller on the line. Who are we talking to?
We have Julie from Franklin joining us. Good morning, Julie. How are you with small talk?
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're
Peachy.
great.
Good small talk start.
Good small talk, yeah.
Yeah. that was kind of small talk. So I'm old, first of all, and I kind of believe that small talk is like essential in society. And where I'm coming at is like customer service jobs, sales jobs. I think we're losing that because there's not as much one-on-one interaction in society anymore. I think the kids aren't really learning how to talk to people face to face. And I think small talk is essential for that. I think it's like there's nothing better than going to your mechanic or a store you go to a lot and somebody knows you, and because they've had some small talk with you, or a receptionist somewhere. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think it's essential. I do think it's kind of irrelevant, a lot of the facts, but it does make people feel good when you remember personal things about them from a prior conversation. I think it builds relationships, but like in business and in personal life, I think it's kind of essential for society.
And certainly in sales, Julie, you make a great point. Sales is all about relationships.
Yeah. And there is something nice when you go into your mechanic and like, hey, Greg, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you're my...
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the call, Julie. I think that's a great point as far as, because it's like and I think because both can be true. It can be irrelevant, but important.
Yeah. I will say from the other side of the customers, like, so I think in the form of like these relationships you could form for life, just in those, like your barber, your mechanic, maybe your real estate agent too, if you move a lot, like whatever that is, there's those are cool. When you work in customer service and someone tries to small talk you, there is
over the phone.
Yeah. And you're like, what may I help you with?
And I wonder how much of this also comes down to being in person. So I was sitting on this topic. I was like, I don't know, I'll figure out a good day to talk about this, but this is why you read a lot. So you have a repository of things to tap into.
Good word.
But there is a Dutch supermarket that introduced a unique slow checkout lane for lonely seniors who want to have a chat.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So one of the primary problems that older people face globally is loneliness, especially in urban areas where life is hectic and becoming more and more digital. In order to combat this from a very common front, the grocery store checkout, a Dutch business came up with an idea, a chat checkout. And I will say, and again, I know that because I like people, but I would say, like, when I go to like a bread store and there's actually that like small moment of an exchange in person with someone who's serving, like, how can I help you? And like actually having a nice, like, this is the problem I think with everything being replaced by with like tablets.
Yeah.
And like you order, instead of talking to a waiter, you order on a tablet, or you all do all these things. And so I will say, I think Julie makes a really good point as far as like the actual need for human interaction.
Yeah.
That like ultimately is kind of just small talk.
I like those small talk things, especially when it's like, it's like at the bread store. How you doing? Good to see you. Take care. Goodbye. It's small. It's in time and in chat.
All right.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. If you are on the line, hold on, because we're coming up against a break.
But we're going to keep on this topic.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Who thought? Who knew that there was so much? People would have so much to say about small talk.
Oh, you're so proud of yourself for that one.
All right. We're taking a break. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Yes, of course, your wish is my command. Here is part 2 of things you can talk about instead of small talk. Number 1, how much alcohol would it take for you to sleep with the Pope? Number 2, which theme park would you pull an Ocean's 11 style heist at, and why? If it's a Disney park, explain why you chose that one. Next, if there was a book of every positive and negative thing a person has ever said about you ever, would you want to read it? And yes, you have to look at the negative parts first. Next up, if you could time travel back in time hundreds of years, which disease are you most afraid of getting? Is it the one where diarrhea is fatal? If you could bring back any dead celebrity, but they can only come back in their peak form and they have to star in a romantic comedy, who would you choose? Which of the Avengers do you think has gotten an STD? Do you think bras exist in the Star Wars universe? And lastly, so where'd you grow up?
That is part 2 from the TikTok from Ash Wee Carter, giving you suggestions on small talk questions that you can start a more interesting conversation than, where are you from? What do you do? And I have some follow-up questions, but we have some people who have been waiting on the line very patiently, so
Yes.
let's get right to them.
844-967-2789. Hawk from Madison. Hey, Hawk, what do you think about small talk?
It's funny because my wife hates it. She's an introvert, and I do it kind of for a living. But I have a kind of funny story about how small talk can go wrong. Like, so you know how you go to a coffee shop or whatever, and you're checking out, and you're like, "Oh, how are you?" And you're like, "How are you?" And you say it back, like, because the person checking you out be like, "Oh, how's your day?" And you're like, "Oh, good." And then you just say it back to them, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I was buying coffee, and this guy, he just went into this whole well, life is pretty miserable right now, and he went into this whole depression, his whole life.
He gave you an honest answer.
Yeah, I was just being polite, man, and all of a sudden I was like, I gotta go, bro. This coffee was to go. I can't solve your.
And then I was talking to this guy at a coffee shop, and he walked away. What's wrong with my life?
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, it was horrible. Yeah. Anyway, so they can go, but anyway, I do think it's important to learn some of those skills because when you work in an environment with other people, I do think small talk is a skill. And being able to do it a little bit is, I think, important, kind of, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, basic communications is very, very important to living a healthy and happy life, I believe. But at some point, let's just knock it off. When you got that training, it's I don't have to keep training to talk to people. I know how to do that now. I learned that when I was 10. Now I don't need to. I've opted out. I've retired from small talk. You want to talk to me? Go deep. I'll listen to your coffee story, buddy. I'll listen.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Hawk.
844-967-2789. Gary from Sussex is on the line. Good morning, Gary. How do you feel about small talk?
I use small talk a lot. It works well for me, even though I do long talk, and that's a problem because I'm an extrovert. My wife's an introvert. She said, just give me yes or no. That's all it is. Just yes or no. And
I feel for that. I love that.
All right. But I own a heating company. My wife and we both own it. It's a G&B, heating and air conditioning. Okay. She does the billing. I do the work. Okay. When I go to someone's house, what I do is I always have a dog treat in my pocket. What happens, the worst thing that could happen is you go there and you want to talk to the people about their needs or whatever, whatever. The dog's barking and you get really distracted. So I have the dog treats in my pocket and I give the dog a treat. And I ask them, of course, first, and I tell them they're all made in America. I get the name of the dog. And then if they decide they want to go with me, put a furnace in, I always write the dog's name up on the top on the contract. So when I come back later on, they just feel really good about the decision that they made, because, if their dog likes you, they're going to like you. And it seems to work. And they can tell right away that I'm a dog lover. I got a dog at home and I just love the dogs. And if the dog can tell whether you love the dog or not, how you pet it and stroke it and everything. But dogs, they want their people's attention, just like the little kids. It's the same thing. I have Candy with me. I go into the house and I'm talking to the parents and the kids are just pulling on them. Mom, I'm talking to Gary. So I asked them, I said, well, can I give them candy? And then they're fine. And then they have a treat. And then I'm talking with them. So small talk is good, but sometimes it gets into long talk, and that's one of my problems.
Or it's one of your blessings, Gary.
Yeah,
it sounds like it actually has done you very well in your career and in probably your happiness level.
And I think that's just so thoughtful of you to write down the dog's name and bring treats and be prepped like that.
But here's the real question. Do you write down the kids' names and do you ever swap the kids and the dog's name when you come back?
Does the kid want a dog treat?
Believe it or not, I do have Candy in my truck, but it's very seldom do I have to give it out. It's mostly the dogs.
Okay.
I would say over half of my customers have dogs. I mean, dogs are a blessing from God. I really do. It's like they're a gift from God. Cats are from the devil.
And kids are from Passaic, New Jersey.
Thanks so much for the call, Gary.
Direct your complaints about cats to Gary. And
there was so much happening there with Gary. I love that. Just this beautiful tale, and then just throwing that gauntlet down the opinion. But Gary, you're not wrong.
That's so funny. And so so I got distracted.
But those are great examples of targeted small talk too. Like those are like,
Mhm.
you want to be amiable when you're in a business, especially like that. You're coming to someone's home, you're going to charge them probably a lot of money. And like heating and cooling, most likely you're going in there when they need you and it's frustrating time. So yeah, it's nice to have like a little chit chat. That's all great stuff. Yeah, I just don't like. Once again, I just don't like the small talk for no sake whatsoever.
And now I'm thinking of my uncle who lives in Rapids. Shout out to my uncle Dan, who is he works for Solaris, which is like a cable internet provider, and like that's all he does all day, right? Is go into people's houses and like install internet or check why internet is not working.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of how much small talk he has to do in a day, and how potentially exhausted he is after at the end of the day. Because like for some of us, it like if that one good conversation can really give you like an adrenaline boost and like dopamine for the day.
Yeah.
But if it's a lot of conversations that really were dragging, that also can
I work
be
in local
draining.
politics. It was mostly draining small talk and
like knocking doors.
I always like knocking doors because
there's a goal.
There's a goal, and you never know what could happen. There's a lot of fun stories in that. But just like when you're sitting behind that desk and someone walks in, I mean, Parks and Rec resonates for me a lot. I mean, some of those questions, I mean, people would like come up and be like, hey, I need this thing. Cool. Go upstairs to housing and development. Give them the sheet. They'll take care of you. Yeah, because see what happened was, nope, you've already told them about your thing. We're done now. Please go upstairs. I've given you the next direction. We are finished.
All right. Well, going back to the part 2 of the TikTok, if you had to, I'm going to ask now.
Yeah.
If there was a book that had everything ever said about you, negative and positive.
Nope.
No.
Jane? Yeah.
You do it?
Yeah.
Because you think you have thick enough skin, the negative stuff?
I think so. I know I would crumble, but
crumble.
I would like to think I would be tough enough to read
I would just be wiping the tears with pages of the book. And then I don't know and then the nice stuff, I'd be like, they're liars.
Especially if you have to read the negative stuff first.
I don't have that kind of person. I think it's no. My therapist would never allow that. You're not there yet, buddy.
I used to, when I was a teenager, I used to write down all the the compliments that like stuck with me.
Yeah.
I had like a book of things. So whenever I was feeling down, I would go back and read them.
When I was a youth minister at a place called Time Out at our in our retreats, we have these things called Palanca bags.
Palanca bags? That's fun to say.
And I still have all of them in a shoebox. And they're basically, you put your name on it, you decorate it, put it on the wall or put it wherever. And over the course of the retreat, people would drop just wonderful little affirmations. They'd sign them so you know who said it. And at the end of the retreat, we all sat down and inevitably everyone starts crying. And then the only problem is sometimes you get like, you go to a retreat, you're like, oh my gosh, my bag is so full. And then you go like, oh, there's like 4 of them in here. What did I do? But I still have all of them, every single bag.
So you want the compliments, but I don't want the negatives.
I don't want either, honestly. Just love me from afar. And for the record, Iron Man totally got the STI. He's the one who
sure. Yeah. For sure.
Then Thor.
844-967-2789, 844-96 party. Kathy from Madison. Good morning, Kathy. We're talking small talk.
I wasn't sure if I should call in because you might not ever get me off the phone. I'm the absolute. I am the queen. I go into the chocolate shop for ice cream with my kids once a week, and I'm best friends with Caleb, the guy who scoops the ice cream. I'm that person that you probably would like to get away from, but can't. So I could not resist calling your show because this is my love language. My job is I'm the bouncer at Costco.
The bouncer at Costco. Have you ever had to bounce someone out of there? Just chat their ear off?
This receipt does not reflect your purchases.
Oh, no, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. They missed this. I'm very sorry. But yeah, it's a fun job. It's kind of perfect for somebody like me who can never shut up. So
Kathy, then does it come from a place of curiosity, or where do you feel like what is the kind of the intrinsic motivation as far as are you just like people?
I like people. I think it's genetic. My dad ran a bar.
Okay.
And he's Irish, I'm Irish, and we are good talkers. So yeah, I find people interesting. You know, it's just it's a really fun job. I just, you know, I like people. Maybe I should run for office.
Maybe you should.
Maybe you should.
There you go.
Likable person.
There you go.
Thanks so much for the call, Kathy. See, it was an appropriate amount of time. We got her off the phone.
If you want to check in, 844-967-2789. You can also text as well if you are not interested in small talk and you just want to make your point short.
So you just want to
make it short and sweet.
Well, because in the original article that, you know, inspired this entire conversation, basically it was someone who hates small talk. And so their coworkers sent them a Harvard business research as far as like how to replace small talk with more serious, I would say a little more serious questions. Although I think the questions from the TikTok actually do get conversation going. But, you know, his first was trying to get out the things like it's been forever, like when you run into someone, or like how's work, how's the weather, and trying to like root out those questions. And the questions that he replaced them with, and this was from the advice from the Harvard Business Review article, was starting with these conversations. And I think on paper they sound good, but kind of the point of this article is like in practice, it was still just as awkward.
Ask me a question like as if we were just having like, you know, like just.
What excites you right now, Greg?
Oh God, kill me. A Marvel property that isn't disappointing.
That excites you?
Yeah, like the prospect of maybe.
The prospect of one.
Yeah.
One does not exist right now.
Yeah.
Jane, what are you looking forward to?
Vacation.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good
And that's it. Conversation. Can I just have my ham sandwich, please?
Where did you grow up?
Here.
Yep, that's exactly said. Ask this to anyone under 23 and they'll respond blankly that they grew up at home, I guess. Ask this to anyone over 23 and they think you're trying to commit credit card fraud.
Do you know what time it is? Yes.
All right. Is there a charitable, this is small talk. Is there a charitable cause you support, Jane?
The Humane Society. Absolutely.
So that could spark a conversation.
Yep.
That's a pretty good one.
I like that one.
Do you have one?
Sojourner House.
There you go.
Love that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Jane, this is one that I feel like, Greg, you would like. Who is your favorite superhero?
Captain America.
Why Captain America?
Because Captain America's morals never faltered under any pressure. He was always about freedom. And when freedom was redefined by outside forces, he was always about living your life, being as free and as happy as possible. And there's a really good video talking about that, how Steve Rogers in the movies, you see his morals always stay intact. They never change versus everybody else redefining what freedom, America, happiness is. He's like, no, that's not it.
See, if someone asked you as a
I'd
small
probably
talk
start to
question,
cry. I'd probably start to,
there you go. So we found a good one.
I'm an emotional long talker.
All right, when we come back, what's coming up at the Laughing Tap this weekend? This is As Goes Wisconsin. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane McNair and Greg Bach.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I love that, by the way, that you know that song.
Of course I do. It's
His
David Bowie.
like face lit up.
It's David Bowie.
David Bowie, The Laughing Gnome.
Oh, we've talked about that before.
Mhm.
I find that so
It's one of his
hilarious.
earlier songs where he was just so British. I'm singing a song about England and things that only English people know, like tea.
On that note, what's coming up at the Laughing Tap this weekend, Greg Bach?
Oh, my mother glory. It's one Chastity Washington, who is, in my opinion, the funniest human being in Milwaukee.
Oh.
3 shows this weekend. 7:30 Friday, 7:30 Saturday, 10 o'clock Saturday. And those tickets are available at laughingtap.com. And guess what?
What?
I will be there performing as well.
What?
Yeah, I will be featuring. So I'm what they're called the middle comic. So there'll be the host, then there'll be me, and then there'll be Chastity.
Oh, that's awesome, Greg.
Yeah, I'm excited. Chastity asked me to feature for her. This was by her request, and that makes me feel very good because Chastity is a very good friend of mine. I care and love her deeply. She's fantastic, and just released a comedy special on Prime Video called Live at Dandy.
Oh,
Yes.
which is also in Milwaukee.
Which is also in Milwaukee, owned by Ryan and Jeste, who are wonderful people. We have a show there once a month called A Dandy Comedy Show. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. She is absolutely wonderful. She's a teacher and she brings a lot of teaching stories. She's just lived a great life and absolutely hilarious. We have a little clip of her talking about, I believe, her mom. So here's our clip.
But you know what? I'm grateful. I have an awesome family. I have an interesting mama, though. My mama is something else, y'all. And some of y'all might be able to attest to this. Where your mom, she just call you and she don't want anybody had that when she call, hang up, call, hang up, call, hang up, and then leave a message that don't make no sense. It's a real message my mother left on my phone. Hello, Chaz. Hello, is she there? Old people think the beep is you. Hello? Chaz, listen, I think the girl downstairs making meth in the basement. I think she know I know. She'll come up here, she gonna kill me. I don't want to bother you. Call me back. Girl, with you, ain't nobody making meth in your basement. They selling weed.
That is just a snippet. I mean, and it is just high energy comedy, very, very relatable, very funny, coming from one of the best people to do it, in my opinion. And Chastity is just fantastic, and it's a treat to have her at the tap. It's a treat to work with her. It's a treat to see her. So I think if you want to see some great comedy this weekend, and what's great is that this month all tickets at the tap are $15.
Oh,
that is such a good deal.
Yeah. So
and no drink minimum.
Right.
No drink minimum, and $15 tickets. And if you want Barron's Brother Comedy Show, well, too bad. Not this month. But yeah. So Chastity, Washington this weekend, as I said, Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, 7:30 and 10 o'clock on Saturday.
And you get to see Greg.
And you get to see me on stage.
You have new material?
I have a few new jokes I'm working on. Yeah. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. So it'll be a fun time. And yeah, go to laughingtap.com to get your tickets before they're gone.
All right. Well, we've been sitting on this, and I think it's a good way to end the show.
Are you pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
I knew it. I win.
I came across this last night, but mother knows best. Jesse Waters, longtime Fox News personality, officially took over from Tucker Carlson in Fox News's 8 p.m. primetime slot.
That's the slot.
On Monday night.
No.
And his mom, first-time caller, longtime parent, had some thoughts. Turns out she's a Democrat.
Yikes.
And I'm surprised they let this fly, honestly. She called into the show, and we have a clip.
We have a very special guest on the line, a Democrat, my mom. How have you enjoyed the show so far?
I have enjoyed the show. I want to say congratulations, Honey Bun. We are so proud of you and your accomplishment. Now let's aim to have you keep your job.
Okay. Do
Do not tumble into any conspiracy rabbit holes. We do not want to lose you, and we want no lawsuits.
Okay.
Use your voice responsibly to promote conversation that maintains a narrative thread. There really has been enough Biden bashing, and the laptop is old. Perhaps you could suggest that your people take less interest, for example, in other people's bodies, and talk about that.
Oh, wait. We're trying to keep other people's interest away from children's bodies. That was the point of that segment. Mom, I love you.
Wait.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Seek solutions versus fanning the flames. You could encourage that Bedminster friend of yours to return to his earlier career on television. Everyone in his audience could wear a red hat, and I'm sure the ratings would soar, although never as high, my darling, as yours on Jesse Waters Primetime. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Mom. I love you very much. And,
I love you. I'm thinking that a small dinner between 5 and 8 would be the way to go.
We gotta go, Mom. This is just like how things are at home. I love you. Bye.
I love Mrs. Waters.
I love Mrs. Waters. That was good
Can we
advice.
get her on our show?
That was really good advice.
I'm trying to figure out the motivation of them doing that. There is a reason.
So that we're all talking about it?
I don't know, but that doesn't happen by accident.
Because the thing is that here's the problem with Jesse Waters is he's not smart enough to have those conversations. He's a dum-dum. The fact that they gave him 8 p.m. that he has to know that he was their 9th choice. There's nobody like.
I have no idea. I don't know how the winner works. I just wanted to talk about his mom because I thought her advice was also very motherly and it was great.
Yes.
And I love that she's a Democrat and she has to stomach the fact that her son, her baby boy, is the new face of Fox.
I love her. I want to.
She kind of reminded me of Kathy.
I hope she calls back again.
I feel like that's how Kathy probably talks to her kids.
Honey bun.
What do you do, Mrs.
Isn't
Waters?
the man in his 40s? Honey bun.
My mother still calls me honey.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, of course.
You underestimate mothers and their sons.
All right.
Yeah. Well, she's always like, I'm always going to be your mother. I'm always your mother. I'm like, yeah, I understand that.
All right. We got to wrap up.
My gosh.
Did you not hear that before? I got to surprise you with it.
I did not hear that. I was lovely stuff here. So,
all right. Well, you got out of having to talk about women's soccer.
I would have talked about it. You were, by the way, the first half of the show did not like the attitude. You're snipey.
Okay.
Snipey.
All right. Well, thank you for calling. Thank you for texting. Thank you for being part of today's show. We will be back tomorrow with a new public service announcement. And Paul Noonan will be back for some sports. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.
Oh, good.